Knight f3 develops the knight toward the center, attacks the e5 pawn, and prepares to castle. Petrov's defense immediately attacks white's unprotected e4 pawn, while ignoring black's unprotected e5 pawn. Knight takes e5 captures the undefended e5 pawn and places the knight in the center, where it controls many important squares. d6 attacks the knight on e5 and allows the light-squared bishop to develop. Knight f3 returns the attacked knight back to the f3 square, where it supports the d4 square and fights for the e5 square. Knight takes e4 captures the e4 pawn and places the knight in the center of the board, where it controls many important squares. d4 takes space in the center, controls the e5 and c5 squares, and allows the dark-squared bishop to develop. d5 takes space in the center, defends the knight on e4, and controls the c4 square. Bishop d3 develops the bishop, attacks the knight on e4, and prepares castling. Developing the bishop and increasing influence in the center. Castling kingside tends to be safer than queenside because the king is further from the center. This activates a bishop by developing it off of its starting square. The rook is now on an open file, which helps control squares across the board. Both kings are castled and ready for the middle game. This threatens to capture a knight and win material after the follow-on trades. The knight moves out of a pin, while also providing critical defense to a piece. A very strong play. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. This threatens to tactically win a knight. This stops the opponent from being able to tactically win a knight. White's recapture simultaneously activates another piece. One more piece joins the action. The knight finds a new active square. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. A solid choice. This wins time by threatening a bishop and forcing it to move away. There were worse moves, but also something much better. Advancing the pawns in front of the king can compromise the king's safety. This threatens to tactically win a pawn. This is not the right idea. Applying pressure to black's pawn chain. This connects the rooks, which helps them work together. One of the best moves. The piece finds a new active square. This doubles the rooks on a file, which allows them to team up to create threats. Right on target. This creates space for the king to move in case it is attacked. Moving the rook gives black more flexibility in the middle game. A very strong play. Very precise. A solid choice. One of the best moves. This threatens to kick a knight. The game was close to equal, but now white has the advantage. Takes back. Now white can't stop black from winning material if they make the right moves. This is the only good move. The knight is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This misses an opportunity to win material through a tactic. This stops the opponent from being able to win material through an eventual discovered attack. The pawn is pinned, so black wins material with this move. This threatens to tactically win a queen. This is the way to win a pawn. Takes back. This misses a much better move. This is the only move that works. Now white can't stop black from winning a knight if they make the right moves. The knight was sacrificed, a brilliant move. This captures a free knight. This threatens to force eventual checkmate. This loses material. The rook was sacrificed for checkmate, a stunning move. This wins material. Recaptures. This continues down the road to checkmate. This captures a free queen. Takes back. This continues the checkmate threat. The Indian game begins by controlling the important e4 square with the knight, rather than a pawn. Knight f3 develops the knight toward the center, gains more control over the e5 square, and strengthens the d4 pawn. d5 gains space in the center and controls the e4 and c4 squares. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. Applying pressure to white's pawn chain. Textbook play so far. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. This threatens to eventually win a pawn. Right on target. This activates a bishop by developing it off of its starting square. The bishop is ready to be developed to an active square. This threatens to force isolated doubled pawns. This prevents the opponent from being able to force isolated doubled pawns. This allows the opponent to pin a knight to the king. This misses an opportunity to pin a knight to the king. This threatens to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-on trades. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. This misses a better way to recapture a piece. This allows the opponent to create a passed pawn. This is the only move that works. This makes a pass. This moves the knight to safety. This defends the attacked pawn. The knight finds a new active square. This fianchettos the bishop by placing it on a powerful diagonal. Castling kingside tends to be safer than queenside because the king is further from the center. Both kings are castled and ready for the middle game. This is not the right idea. White develops further. This wins a tempo by threatening a rook and forcing it to move away. This misses a better way to move a rook to safety. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This develops a piece while also winning a tempo on a bishop. This move puts the bishop on a safer square. This is a fair move. This attacks a knight, winning a tempo when it moves away. This allows the opponent to eventually win a knight. Now white can't stop black from winning a knight if they make the right moves. White still has an advantage, but they no longer have a winning position. With the rook now developed as well, black has all pieces ready for action. That's fine. This threatens to tactically win a pawn. This is the only good move. This is an equal trade. Takes back. This is the strongest option. This overlooks an opportunity to add a defender to a vulnerable pawn. There was only one good move there. This overlooks an opportunity to offer an equal trade of pieces. This is the only move that works. This defends a vulnerable knight by pinning one of its attackers. This permits the opponent to win material through a fork. This overlooks an opportunity to win material through a tactic. Black will be winning material with that fork, ignoring the threat on the rook, a difficult move to see. That pawn was free for the taking. This steps away from the checking knight. Capturing that rook wins material. Recaptures. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. This misses an opportunity to prepare a retreat square for the king. This passed pawn is a strong asset for white. This wins time by threatening a queen and forcing it to move away. This offers to exchange pieces of equal value. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Takes back. This wins time by threatening a knight and forcing it to move away. A strong move, occupying an outpost square and keeping the initiative. This moves the rook to safety. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. In the Caro-Kann defense, c6 supports a quick d7, d5 pawn push to control the center and challenge the e4 pawn. d4 grabs control of the center and attacks the e5 and c5 squares. d5 controls the center and attacks the e4 pawn. E takes d5 opens up the center. White can now develop the light-squared bishop to d3, where it will attack black's kingside. C takes d5 recaptures the pawn on d5 and leaves the c6 square open for the knight to develop. Bishop d3 develops the bishop to an active diagonal that controls the center and attacks h7. Black develops the knight and attacks the center. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. This threatens to tactically win a queen. Moving from its starting spot, the queen gets involved in the game. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. The bishop is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This permits the opponent to eventually win a pawn. This overlooks an opportunity to tactically win a pawn. This overlooks an opportunity to develop a knight off its starting square. This permits the opponent to sacrifice a bishop for a nice tactic. The bishop was sacrificed, a brilliant move. This is the way to win a bishop. This moves the queen to safety. That was a free bishop. This prevents the opponent from being able to tactically win a knight. White develops the knight and attacks the center. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. This overlooks an opportunity to win a tempo by threatening a queen. This is the only move that works. Recaptures. Right on target. This develops a piece while also winning a tempo on a queen. This threatens to win a knight by pinning a piece to the king. This prevents the opponent from being able to win a knight by pinning a piece to the king. This stops the opponent from being able to tactically win a pawn. This threatens to win material because the pawn is pinned. This prevents the opponent from being able to win material because the pawn is pinned. This is the strongest option. White had an advantage, but now the game is close to equal. There was only one good move there. This missed an opportunity to punish a mistake. This misses an opportunity to offer an equal trade of pieces. This is a fair move. This threatens to capture a knight and win material after the follow-on trades. This forces the opponent to double castle pawns. Takes back. That's fine. Very precise. The piece finds a new active square. White was better off, but now their position is winning. This move puts the pawn on a safer square. A very strong play. This is an equal trade. This threatens to win material because the pawn is pinned. This threatens to eventually win a pawn. This blocks an attack on a pawn. This threatens to eventually win a pawn. This threatens to tactically win a pawn. This prevents the opponent from being able to tactically win a pawn. Black was worse off, but now they are in a losing position. This stops the opponent from being able to sacrifice a rook for a nice tactic. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. This wins material. Recaptures. This takes an open file, a common method for activating a rook. This evades the check from the rook. This wins a queen. This move puts the queen on a safer square. This is the way to win a pawn. Takes back. Right on target. One of the best moves. This wins a pawn.